You clicked on this video because you want to build a 3D printed robot arm that actually works in the real world. You have seen open source projects like Tara or RR1 and assumed they offer a path to industrial grade manufacturing at a fraction of the cost. The reality is far more expensive than just filament and motors, because these consumer designs fundamentally lack the physical properties required for high-tolerance assembly tasks. By the end of this analysis, you will understand exactly why software corrections cannot fix structural flex or thermal drift, revealing that the gap between hobbyist kits and industrial actuators is not a matter of design iteration, but of physics itself. Let us start with the core assumption many builders make. If we replicate the kinematics of an industrial arm using 3D printed parts, we should get similar performance for 1% of the price. This logic holds up in theory when you are moving light payloads at low speeds on a static bench. However, once you introduce real-world loads or continuous operation cycles, the system begins to fail in ways that no amount of code can fix. The critical trade-off lies in material stiffness and thermal drift. Even advanced designs like RR1, which utilize carbon fiber reinforced polycarbonate, cannot match the rigidity of cast metal structures used in factories. This difference creates a structural flex that degrades repeatability under load, turning your precision robot into a spring-loaded toy when it encounters resistance. Consider how industrial actuators are built to handle millions of cycles with micron-level precision. They use heavy-duty gearboxes and rigid frames designed specifically to resist deformation. In contrast, consumer-printed arms rely on stepper motors and 3D printed gears that introduce cumulative backlash and elastic deformation. When a high-torque Nema 23 motor is paired with a printed planetary gearbox, you create a stiffness bottleneck where the printed material acts as a spring under load. This causes significant positional drift and vibration that propagates through every joint of your arm. The result is a system that cannot hold its position when pushing against an object or lifting even moderate weights. Quick resource note: I keep a curated set of Amazon search links in the description for books, gear, and tools relevant to this channel's topics. Some are affiliate links, so I may earn a commission at no extra cost to you. Please consider supporting the channel by using those links if you find something useful. Now, consider this specific failure mode: thermal expansion. The coefficient of thermal expansion for common fused deposition modeling filaments like PLA or PETG causes dimensional changes of several hundred microns during continuous operation. This means your robot arm physically grows and shrinks as it heats up from friction in the motors and gearboxes. These subtle shifts invalidate the kinematic calibration necessary for consistent industrial cycle times. A part that was perfectly aligned at room temperature becomes misaligned by an amount large enough to cause assembly errors or dropped objects once the system reaches operating temperatures. This thermal drift is not a bug you can patch, it is a fundamental property of the material you chose because it was cheaper than metal. You might argue that closed-loop encoders could solve this problem. Projects like RR1 emphasize using these sensors to compensate for flex and track actual position rather than relying on motor steps alone. While this approach acknowledges the inherent weakness, software correction cannot fully eliminate physical deformation caused by heat or vibration. The control loop can only react so fast before the structure has already bent out of alignment. You end up with a system that requires expensive high-bandwidth control loops and frequent recalibration just to maintain basic functionality. This erodes the economic advantage you thought you gained from using 3D printed parts, as hidden costs stack up in maintenance time and lost production efficiency. The lack of benchmark data comparing these arms against industrial counterparts further complicates the narrative. Current evidence is largely anecdotal or limited to low-speed pick-and-place scenarios that do not stress-test the system. We simply do not have long-term durability testing for consumer designs operating under continuous load in a manufacturing setting. The archived status of projects like Bertram Robot Arm highlights this critical failure mode. Scaling these designs to industrial sizes introduces unmitigated risks that may not be solvable through design iteration alone. When structural fatigue sets in, the printed parts eventually crack or deform permanently, creating safety hazards that make deployment in production environments impossible. Here's what most builders miss about the economics of robotics. The trade-off between cost and performance is nonlinear. While consumer arms can match industrial payload-to-cost ratios on paper, the hidden cost of soft kinematics requires constant intervention to maintain accuracy. You are trading upfront capital expenditure for ongoing operational drag that accumulates over every single cycle. In a factory setting where uptime equals revenue, this trade-off becomes fatal. The system may look like it is working because the motors turn and the arm moves, but the lack of standardized high-stiffness actuator integration leads to unresolvable structural fatigue. This brings us back to the fundamental question: can you ever build an industrial robot from consumer 3D printed parts? The answer depends entirely on your definition of success. For educational purposes or hobbyist projects where precision is not critical, designs like Thor or Tara demonstrate that open-source collaboration has made robotics accessible in ways never before possible. You gain the ability to customize geometry and iterate rapidly without expensive tooling. However, when you shift the goalpost to manufacturing tolerances requiring sub-millimeter repeatability over millions of cycles, these systems simply cannot compete with cast metal actuators designed for that specific purpose from day one. The realization is not that 3D printed robots are bad tools. They excel at rapid prototyping and education. The problem arises when we try to force them into roles where physics demands rigidity that plastic cannot provide regardless of reinforcement or design complexity. Until material science advances enough to bridge the gap between polymer stiffness and metal density, these systems will remain experimental solutions for specific use cases rather than general-purpose manufacturing tools. Your frustration with a printed arm failing under load is not a sign of poor building skills. It is evidence that you have hit the physical limits of your chosen materials. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. I am a one-person team working hard to make each video better than the last. Subscribe if you found value. It is the best way to show support. Drop a comment with your biggest takeaway. See you in the next video.